here is going to be your main workspace when you go to use with your students. And this is going to be broken up into like 3 main sections. So we have our far left over here, and these are just some big, broad, sweeping buttons that you can do. What I really like about it is it's very straightforward. You know, they're not trying to trick you, you know, they're not giving like extra words. If I were to check this box, it's going to completely turn off the internet for my student. You may have times for this. I would say more often than not, you probably won't use this one. But if there's ever a time that you need to just completely shut down your class's internet, you could just click that button and it will turn it off. You see it right away. It's in bright green. Notice also it came up down here that it turned off my Wi-Fi signal. We're going to turn that back on so I don't mess with anything on my other device. Those who had used Pharonics before, we had options to lock the screens, and then it completely puts up a different screen for the students to see. So if I lock this, once again, it puts it on here, and on the student's Chromebook, the whole screen goes gray. Now let's see, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. This is what the students see. So on their device, they're not able to do anything. And so this is a great way to just redirect your students, and it's super fast, and it happens pretty quickly. So I clicked that, and on my student's screen, that happened in about 3 seconds that it changed over on theirs. So those are 2 big ones that you'll want to use for all of your students. And then another great tool with this is I can broadcast. So you have a choice to select all next to it. So this one here is not active. This is my active student. And I know it because it is green on that little rectangle box next to it. And I also have a checkbox. It's hard to tell that it's an actual checkbox, but I could check that box. And now I do have that choice where I could lock the screen for just that one student, but I cannot broadcast to just one student. So I could, you know, if I need someone, if that's my indicator that I need them to come back to my table so that I can work with them one-on-one, I could lock that screen. So if I select the student and then I click on that live view, this list is going to populate all of the different tabs that they have open. So this is one way of seeing all the different things that a student is on. If I just view them in this window here, that's where I can't see those tabs like I was commenting on before. But when I click on them, I can see all of their active tabs. And so if I click on Test Teacher Class, I have 2 choices. I can focus or I can close. So if I see a student was on Cool Math Games and they're supposed to be doing their seesaw activities, I can click on this and I can choose close, and it will close out of that tab for the student. If I want them to go back and work on the test, this is my test teacher sharing class, this is my seesaw class name. If I click on that, I can click on that focus and it will send them back to that. Now I know this screen hadn't changed when I was on YouTube, but it did actually close out on my student Chromebook. So when it popped over to this, I hadn't touched anything, but it went to this new tab. And so when the students are on a new tab, it doesn't populate onto your Impero. So let me go. Once I actually do the search, then it populates, and now it's taking me to a website that I can no longer access. So if I see that the students are on there, that's where by clicking on this, it'll close out of that tab for them, and it'll send them to focus what they're actually supposed to be working on. So I'm going to close out again. So once again, to do that, I had to actually check next to the student's name and then go to the live view. I can also see that underneath these active tabs, but I had to make sure that I have put a check mark by it, and then I can see them here. I can also push that there as well and say, focus on this, or I can have them close out. This is the login to Launchpad, so I won't make them close out, but I could send them to those directions there. The last section is going to be this right side, and it is put into 3 different sections. So I'm going to actually start at the bottom. I can send messages. Those who use Phonics, you'll remember this as well. You can send messages to your students. So if I type in then this pops up blue and I can send this message. And it pops up, and it doesn't show it on here, but it pops up right in the middle of their screen. It's a big box, and they could go without reading it, but they do have to press the X to make it go away. It doesn't just disappear. Unless they click off to the side. But it is at the bottom of their screen where they could click on it and bring it back up again. They see it on their side as from Raquel Ran, and then it has the message down below. You can also, so you can send that to the whole class. You could send it to one student by me checking the box by the name. I can see that the send message is going to go to Raquel's student. If I wanted to check a couple of student names, I could do that as well and send it to a couple of different students. In the middle is an option to launch a website. And I always choose CNN because it's a nice short one. So what I like about this is you can send students to a website without them having to go back into your Google Classroom. I can type in my address that I want them to go to, and I can click the launch website. And when I click on this, I'll notice that I now have this new tab here for CNN, breaking news, latest news, and videos. On the student's side, it pops up and it focuses them on that tab. So I was within the Seesaw tab, and without the student, obviously I would want to let them know that I was doing this for them, but it would pop up on their screen and it takes them, it does not close out of any tabs, it creates a brand new tab. So they still have their login, their Seesaw, and now they have this new CNN one. This is another one that you can do where you can choose the student, so if you've got all your students are at CNN and for some reason Raquel just can't get to it, I can select them, type that in, and then I can click that launch website and it will send Raquel's student to that one.
Impero has recently initiated a new update that is going to impact how you use your allow or block lists. When you are on your page for your class, you'll notice that up in this top corner there is this start lesson, and it was there previously, but now it's really important for you to utilize this button when you go to start your class and push out blocked websites. When you start the lesson and then put a website within your block or allow list, it will be associated with that lesson and it will then not impact other classes when you end it. So I have my student within my class and I'm going to click Start Lesson. It's going to give me a timer on here. And I'm going to switch over. I want to just block a single website or maybe 2. So I'm going to come down here, I'm on my block list, and I'm going to type in cnn.com, and I'm going to click my plus. This website is now associated with this lesson that has a specific end time, but I can also end it. And now my student is going to be unable to access CNN. I could add some other ones as well. And now I will have two different ones that are listed on here. So if I wanted to take a look, I could click on my student and I could click on a little picture to see what they have open. And now I will see that they were trying to go to CNN.com. It's the message that they received, letting them know that they are not allowed to access that website. So now I can close out of this one as well as close out of the screen of seeing all of my student screens. And I am back here. So now it put me back to my allowed list and I can switch back to my block list. Maybe I want them to be able to go to Seesaw now that I'm done with my lesson, and I can trash this here so that they're able to still go to Seesaw if they wanted, but I still have CNN blocked. So now my lesson is done with my class. If I'm a secondary, maybe I'm sending them off to their second hour class. If I'm a specialist, maybe they're heading back into their classroom. If I click this end lesson, you'll notice that this is going to disappear. So if I click that, it's now gone, and in just a second, there it disappears, and now the student will be able to access CNN. If you forget to start your lesson, no big deal, right? I clicked CNN, I want it on my block list, I click the plus, and now I click start lesson. When I end my lesson this time, this website was not associated with this actual lesson that I started. So when I click end lesson this time, that website's not going to go away. So any students that were mine and they go to the next class, they are still going to be blocked from accessing CNN. But it's easy enough to just trash it here once again, and now any students that you had would be able to go to any of those sites that they needed.